title. And with that, we transition to this national title game between Gonzaga and the Baylor Bears. One of the reasons why the NCAA tournament is so unique is because it's one and done. Every game played is a game 7. Win or go home. There is no tomorrow. And that's one of the most captivating parts is when you watch the NCAA tournament, you watch these teams, not always the best team does not always win a game, does not always win the NCAA tournament. Unlike sports like the NBA and MLB, where you've got best of 7 games. This is all like the NFL, especially the NFL postseason. One game determines your fate. One game determines your outcome. And this is one of those few instances where we actually, as fans, were lucky. Again, selfishly, as a UCLA fan, I would have loved to have seen UCLA in that spot. But for the majority of college basketball fans and viewers across the United States and across the world, this is one of those few lucky instances in which the 2 best teams in college basketball throughout the entire season, the 2 best teams in the nation from the preseason on throughout the entire season, the number 1 and number 2 teams ranked all year meet up in the national championship game. This is Alabama and LSU in football a couple years ago with Les Miles at LSU, number 1, Trent Richardson in Alabama, ranked number 2. Alabama lost 9-6 in overtime to LSU. Then they came back, won the national championship game against the Tigers to exact some revenge. This was, you could say, Alabama versus Clemson with those Deshaun Watson Clemson teams a couple years ago, the 2 clear favorites in college football to meet in the national title game. This is the Lakers and the Celtics, Bird versus Magic in the 1980s. These were teams that were expected to reach the NBA Finals, expected to reach the precipice, the pinnacle of their sport, and face off, and they did. And now we've got it. Now we've got that opportunity to see the preseason number 1 and number 2 teams squaring up against one another. And what makes this super fascinating is that these teams were actually scheduled to play against each other early in the season, and it got canceled because 2 players on the Gonzaga Bulldogs program tested positive for COVID-19. But what we've learned over the past year, and obviously now this bubble concept is starting to eviscerate. We're starting to lose that bubble. Teams are starting to allow fans to re-enter the buildings and their stadiums. In fact, Staples Center just announced that beginning April 15th in the game against the Celtics, that the Lakers will start re-allowing fans back into the stadium. But what we know from the bubble, from our experience in the bubble, whether it was the MLB, whether it was the NBA, is that veteran teams were the teams that had the most success in the bubble. Lakers winning the NBA championship last year. LeBron, veteran player. Rondo, veteran player. Dwight Howard, Danny Green, veteran players. Anthony Davis, to a lesser degree, still a 7-year player in the league. In the MLB, the Dodgers won the World Series. Clayton Kershaw, a veteran pitcher. Justin Turner, veteran third baseman. Mookie Betts, already a champion. Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager. These guys have played in the MLB for several years. And even in college football, Alabama winning the national title. Mac Jones was a senior quarterback. There are a lot of players on that Alabama football team that are going to be drafted in this NFL draft in the next couple weeks. So veterans thrive and flourish in the bubble situations. And what we're seeing is that has directly translated to the college basketball level. Because Gonzaga, yes, they have Jalen Suggs, who's going to be a presumptive top 3 pick in the NBA draft. It's possible that given this tournament run, he may have just eclipsed Evan Mobley and Cade Cunningham to be taken number 1 overall. I don't know if I'm willing to go that far, but it's possible. But Gonzaga, with the exception of Jalen Suggs, is an upper-class heavy team. Corey Kispert, a senior. Drew Timme, a senior. Joel Ayayi, I believe he's a junior. So this team is kind of composed of veteran leadership. Same thing with Baylor. Jared Butler is a senior. Davion Mitchell, or rather, Jared Butler's a junior. Davion Mitchell is a junior. Vital is a senior. Their bigs are seniors. Maceo Teague is a senior on Baylor rather. So what we're seeing is that a lot of these teams that are excelling in this bubble situation have veteran presences and veteran leadership. And when I look at this game, what's special about this matchup again is these two teams have been the most consistent teams in college basketball the entire year. They are both top 3 in offense, so that their styles of play are extremely similar. They both play really fast. Gonzaga averages 92 points a game, first in college basketball. Baylor is at number 3, averaging 84 points a game, but they both have tremendous guard play. They get up and down the floor quickly. They like to run. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these teams match up, what type of high-scoring affair this game's going to be, if nerves are going to creep in. Because, again, this matchup of Jared Butler and Davion Mitchell taking on Jalen Suggs and Kispert is going to be something that's extremely fun to watch. I cannot wait for this matchup. Again, selfishly, I wish UCLA was playing in this game. But the other piece of it is that this is kind of the matchup, again, that everyone wanted to see. And these are the two best teams. Gonzaga 31-0, Baylor 27-2. So again, very close in their records, very close in their styles of play. Drew Scott is a tremendous coach for Baylor, and both Baylor and Gonzaga are seeking their first program title. That's what makes this game so unique. That's what makes the stakes of this game particularly special, is because, yes, Gonzaga has reached this stage before, back in 2017, but both Mark Few and the Bulldogs program and Drew Scott and the Baylor Bears program have never won a national title. And worst case, at the end of this game, a first-time NCAA title will be crowned to one of these programs. And that's really special. But when I look at these two teams, and I appreciate both of these teams for playing hard, being dominant throughout this entire tournament, with the exception of Gonzaga against UCLA. And I love Baylor. I appreciate how they've been able to kind of rid themselves of this previous past stigma of coming up short and being upset in the tournament. We remember Georgia State beating them. We remember Baylor losing and being upset early on in the tournament. That is no longer the case with this Baylor Bears team. And they've had a tremendous season, a tremendous run. But this seems like destiny for Gonzaga. It just truly does. When you look at Gonzaga, there's the quest for the perfected season. You've got the iconic shot, the indelible mark, and indelible moment with Jalen Suggs. And this is a smaller, less touted program in the West Coast Conference, breaking barriers, just shattering the mold of these Power 5 schools constantly winning all the NCAA titles. Now you have a team in Gonzaga coming in and saying, hold on a sec. We are just as notable, we are just as prolific and dominant in our respective sport as you are. And this just feels like Gonzaga's year. Again, I thought that the winner of Gonzaga and UCLA would go on to win the NCAA title. I truly and firmly believe that. And if Gonzaga can come away with that game, now their antennas will be on high alert. And I don't think they'll necessarily roll over Baylor. I think there will be large stretches of time where Baylor's actually winning this basketball game. But at the end of the day, when you know, you know. And I just believe that Gonzaga has this aura around them, this magical run, this magical aura around him. Mark Few said Jalen Suggs has this magical aura about him that they're just going to find a way to complete this undefeated season and become the first team since Indiana State did it in 1976 to finish an undefeated season, to win every single game you play. But again, cannot wait for it tonight. Obviously, my reactions will come on Wednesday. It'll be a high-scoring affair, but I'm going to predict the score here, 90-85. I'm taking the Zags over the Baylor Bears. We'll see what happens. Looking forward to that.